Hello, my name is Sifu Mark Masari. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction about what we're going to do. This right here, standing behind me, this is called the Muk Jung, or the Muk Yan Jung. It is, the English version of it is the wooden man or the wooden dummy. And basically, what this is all about is it's about how to, it's blocking techniques, right? The punching bag, the heavy bag, right? When you hit the bag, you work your punching, you work your timing, you work your distancing. What you don't work is the how to block. So this is for that. This was developed for that, to be able to, when you don't have somebody to train with, you can train with this, okay? So I've used this, I've had this probably my second, I got this probably about 17, 18 years ago. So it's been with me for a long time. They're not really cheap to get. In fact, the ones that you can buy, a lot of them are not as great as they should be. The arms are too wide and stuff like that. But basically what this is, I'm gonna give a quick explanation of what this is. I'm going to show you some techniques, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what APlea Combatives is all about and where it comes from and where it's headed towards. And you can kind of see a little bit of the stuff up on the walls here, some of the flags and stuff. What is it? Why do I say that what we're doing is beyond a martial art? Okay, because a lot of the foundation for this comes from the martial arts world. Okay, Wing Chun Kung Fu is where this wooden dummy comes from. Okay, Bruce Lee. People have seen Bruce Lee do this. His teacher, Ip Man, if you've ever seen the Ip Man movies that came out a few years ago, this is used in that. So what it is basically if somebody's going to throw a punch, okay? And if they were to freeze frame with two punches out here, these are the first two crossed arms, okay? These are mid-range punches. This is the most common type of punching, okay? This is low punching, okay? It also could be a knee, right? Or it could be a low punch, all right? This last one, this is a leg, and the idea of this is there's a lot of different applications, but this gives you a person, it gives you a fake person, obviously, but a strategy to begin to move around, to begin to do techniques and move around and practice blocking and getting more precise with your techniques. Because here's the thing, if you've been in the martial arts more than a few years, okay, you find there's less and less people that want to train with you when you want to train, okay? So this is a way you can train by yourself. And a funny story, my Sifu, Don Green, when he first started learning this, he went to Canada, and it was about a 5-hour trip to get there up in Toronto. And he got there, and his teacher started teaching him this, and Master Sunny Tang at the time. And he basically said to him, train this thing. If I hear this thing stop making noise, that means you're not really interested in training and you should go home. So my teacher, who drove all that way to be there, train, okay? And that's how he got good. So Grandmaster Moyat, which is Master Sunny Tang's teacher, actually Grandmaster Sunny Tang now, but basically, he basically said that this is like a typewriter, okay? It can't help you to write, but it can help make your writing better, okay? Or like a computer, right? If you have sloppy handwriting and you type it on a computer, now it's better. So this is kind of what does that. It kind of hones the blade of your techniques, okay? So if you're familiar with Krav Maga, you know things like vertical sweep, checks, right? Check and punch, right? Sweep and punch, right? You could practice all that on this, okay? Moving around a bad guy, right? Ducking and moving around, closing the distance. You could practice that on this. You can see there's three main angles of the dummy. They're straight on. This is the most dangerous part of a fight, so this is why we practice this. There's this angle here, and then there's this angle here, okay? So all the wooden man, the wooden dummy does, you work these three angles, okay? Now the objective is not just to work these three angles. The objective in self-defense is to get to the position behind here, where now the bad guy, his hands are here, and you're behind him with, like this, with head control. You can take him to the ground, you can control him, you can secure the bad guy, okay? So if that's your strategy, or you can escape too, because he's in a much worse position to fight than if you're both standing toe-to-toe with your hands up, okay? So I'm going to show you a couple techniques. This is actually some of these drills come from Wing Chun. This particular one does. This is actually the form or some of the techniques, but I'm just going to do a few of them so you can kind of see what it's like. So you start out here, your hands are here like you're squaring off with your bad guy, right? And you just basically, you're blocking and you're moving Now, notice I'm not hitting this like super hard. I'm working technique. This is a block. This is a strike, okay? This is a block and a strike, all right? This is just a practice. This is a block and this is a block by itself. Just practicing them together. Okay? Again, this thing's secured in the wall, but it's not super secured. If I sat here and did a full power front kick on it, it'd probably fall off the wall. You don't need it to be. This is not like you're not fighting this thing. You're training your technique. You're honing your skill. Repetitive. How do you get good at something? Practice 10,000 hours at it. Okay. Put 10,000 hours into this, and your fight will be better. I promise you. Okay. The only thing that you really can't train with this is a lot of like circular stuff, but because the dummy doesn't move. Okay. So you do need partners, but this you can do a lot. Okay. So there's different techniques. You can see I'm moving my hands. My hands and my feet are moving at the same time. I'm switching from this angle back to the front angle, back to this angle. Okay? In a fight, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be like you start in this front position. Possibly, you want to end up behind the dummy, basically here. Okay? We call this in Krav Maga. We call this point of dominance. So once again, I'm going to show you another little technique on this. So this is also training what you call centerline theory, and I'm going to explain that in a second here. But basically, you could practice coordinated. I don't know if you can see my hands. Practice striking. Okay. Another section. I'm just kind of doing them out of order, but I want you to kind of see what I'm doing, basically. Okay? I don't know if you can see all this, but I'm hitting the legs and I'm hitting the hands at the same time. Alright, so this is the wooden dummy. It takes a long time to learn how to do this. I started training on this in 1993. Not on the dummy only, but I'm in the system of Wing Chun under my Sifu. So after years of learning, I got some of this down. You don't have to know a technical form for this, but this will help you fight like a Wing Chun fighter by learning how to train on this. You can't play. There's no block training on heavy bag, so that's basically what it's for. Hey, my name is Sifu Mark Masari, the Juggernaut. I'm coming to you. We'll talk to you a little bit about APlea and about our combative system. Okay. Right now, we're pushing everything in a direction of what we call citizen response, all right, or civilian response, right? The kind of words are interchangeable, but basically, I'm going with citizen because civilian actually is a term meaning non-military, okay? Citizen is more of a term related to belonging to the society that you're in, okay? If you're a U.S. citizen, you are kind of have responsibilities that people who are not citizens, people can come, visit, enjoy stuff, and go back to their country. All right, so as a citizen of America, you have a responsibility to defend America. Okay, when I first joined the military, we said an oath. Okay, the oath was, I swear to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Okay, so the idea is that there is enemies that come from outside of America that are trying to take down America, and there's also enemies that are domestic. They're internal. All right, they're among us. They're the people that don't appreciate what we got here. So no matter who's in office, no matter who you voted for, the bottom line is you're living on the gravy train of the people that came before you and built this country. So if you've never been to another country before, you might not realize how great you got it, okay? But obviously there's downsides to being in America, right? But there's a lot of upsides. So what is APlea Rangers? What is the combatives program of the APlea Rangers? Basically, I started training Kung Fu. I started training Kung Fu in the early 90s, okay? As a teenager, I needed to get off the streets. I needed positive people in my life. I met my teacher. He began to start training with me. For a period of time, I lived with him in his house. I also lived in the studio, and I was quote-unquote security there. That was my beginning of my security career, even though I didn't do a whole lot of security. But basically, I began to develop in me, what began to develop in me is the idea of protection, that we have a right to protect ourselves, okay? self-defense, okay? Also, I began to learn, well, this actually came a little bit younger when I began to read stories of like knights and, heroes and legends, and the idea that we can protect other people, all right? We can help defend the defenseless, all right? So America was set up by people, average people like you and me, we the people, right? We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, okay? And it talks about establishing domestic tranquility, which is peace, right? Peace in the homeland. So the idea is, what makes America domestically tranquil or safe, okay? One of the things that does is we the people, and this idea that we have the right to protect ourselves. We have the right, Second Amendment, all right? And the Constitution says we can bear arms. We can defend ourselves against any equal to force, okay? Including the government. The government was never meant to become very big in America. It was meant to basically represent the people because it was supposed to be run by the people, okay? Idea of a representative government. So anyways, 9/11 happens, okay? Paradigm shift. We're living off of the shoulders of our fathers and grandfathers and all these, things that had happened, and a lot of good stuff happened. I actually recently got back from the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln, and where he grew up, and we went to the museum, and you see the things where he's running for office, and the biggest concern that they had when he was campaigning was that the Union was divided, okay? That obviously this was the beginning of America. This was like almost 100 years in, and America was in danger, okay? There was the North and there was the South. There was division, okay? As we all know the story, we all know the Civil War history, at least a little bit of it, and there are all the different reasons that go into why we end up having to go to war. So anyways, we're kind of in a place like that. We're coming to a place like that, I believe, in America now, where we're divided. Republicans and Democrats are becoming more and more divided on issues. It just seems to become more polarized every election. And again, I'm not here to talk politics, but basically, I'm here to basically promote this we the people mindset, the idea that anybody can take an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, okay? Another thing, I spoke with a friend of mine the other day is about the Oath Keepers. If those of you who are in the military know what the Oath Keepers are, it's where military members come back from the combat zone, and they take an oath that they'll never use their skills against the American people, even if they were ordered to, okay? Now, some of that is somewhat, I don't get into all that conspiracy theory stuff. Some of my buddies do, so you can talk to them about it, but basically, in the military, we're only supposed to follow lawful orders, okay? What does that mean? It means that if your guy in charge of you says, hey, why don't you go and kill that guy just because I don't like the way he looks, that's not a lawful order. So that's something that officers are trained. What is a lawful order? How do I give a lawful order? The Uniform Code of Military Justice, all right? So I'm throwing stuff out there that may sound like gibberish to you, but I want to just kind of set your mind for understanding why APlea exists. APlea exists for all the guys that wanted to be in the military and never could be. APlea exists for all the guys who were in the military and are out and now feel still a responsibility to that oath. Still feel a responsibility to defending the defenseless and using their skill set in that way, okay, to being American. We've all seen the movies where the heroes in the movies are retired military guys and they're minding their own business and they're doing their normal daily thing, and all of a sudden somebody takes over a bank or some terrorist comes in, and these guys, like Liam Neeson or whatever these superheroes are, Bruce Willis, all these, basically because of their skills and training, they're able to protect the defenseless, okay, and they're able to help aid law enforcement, right? So anyways, I'm not saying if you're a police officer watching this, you're like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we don't need. We don't need guys from APlea running up to cops saying, I'm here to help, necessarily. Unless, now put yourself as a police officer in another situation, you're in a riot and there's 50 dudes attacking you. You don't have any police in sight, but there's guys that are trained that come to your aid. You don't care who they come from. Somebody that, in the Bible it says if they're not against us, they're for us, okay? So anyways, I want to make it clear that APlea is not against the government. We are not against law enforcement. We are not against the military. We stand with America, okay? We also stand with Israel because I believe that in the coming years, okay, nobody knows how to fight terrorism better than Israel does. Nobody knows what it means to be the little guy, the David against the Goliath like Israel does, okay? There's a whole lot more reasons than that, but basically, you see I got an IDF flag here, and these are some of the different units in the IDF. You see I got an 9/11 flag, okay? I was in the military during 9/11. APlea Rangers, these two symbols have to do with, brotherhood, okay? We say what started off as two brothers has become a brotherhood of warriors. My brother got that logo. He designed it. We revamped it. I helped produce it. I helped, make patches out of it. We worked together as a team to accomplish, to bring that logo. That's why I have a lot of guys that come to me like, you should change the logo. You should change the name. No. To do that would be to unravel the origin of what APlea is, okay? So anyways, Kung Fu. Any type of martial arts. We're not just pro one martial arts. We're pro anything that works, okay? One of the things, for those of you who are like, oh, Kung Fu is outdated, but I want you to just think back a little bit. Think back to Bruce Lee in the 60s. He was blowing people's minds because what he was showing people was Wing Chun Kung Fu, which was, it wasn't acrobatic martial arts, it was self-defense related martial arts, okay? He moved to the United States. First of all, he grew up on the streets of Hong Kong. He was involved in, gangs and things that basically would make him not safe all the time. And basically, he kind of came from the streets. So he was very passionate towards the self-defense arena. Out of Wing Chun Kung Fu came Jeet Kune Do. That's what he began to call it. And some of that, I believe, was because of the politics. Some of it, I believe, was because the philosophies that he had, he didn't feel were represented. And you know what? There does come a point where everybody has to say, I'm not so-and-so's follower anymore. I am, this is what I'm representing, okay? And that's what APlea is. And it's not, if you're part of APlea, it's not like, well, I'm Mark's guy, all right? It's not even like that. Or Mark and Jonathan's, those are my teachers. It's not even like that. We set up the APlea Rangers, which we only did that. The Rangers came into existence only a couple of years ago as a way where people could be involved without being under anybody. There's no chain of command in the Rangers necessarily. Now, what we are going to do is I am going to put in place, starting this year, point of contacts and state representatives, okay? They're going to represent the state. They're not going to run the state, okay? They're going to represent it, just like a representative government. So if you need to know what's going on in Connecticut, you're going to reach out to John Maddow. If you need to know what's going on in another state, you're going to reach out to that representative. If you want to be a representative, then you got to get plugged into the system. One of the mistakes I've made through the years in trying to build APlea into something bigger is giving out responsibility and roles to people who never come and train with me. They're like, oh yeah, I'm coming to train, or I want to bring you to train, and I just need this. Can you mail me this certificate? Can you, I just need to get certified. We'll eventually bring you out, and then years go by. And then the bottom line is, what comes down to is I can't represent you if you don't train with me, all right? Just like my Kung Fu teacher, I haven't done training in Kung Fu for a while. I've been doing it the last 10 years or so. I've really been focused on Krav Maga, anti-terrorism training, stuff more related to law enforcement, and I've kind of gotten away from Kung Fu, but I still train it, obviously. I still do it. I teach it as private training, but it's hard for my teacher to represent me because he doesn't really know where I'm at, okay? Unless he sees me. So that's why I'm making an effort to go back there. I'm going to be training with him. Several of my students have trained Wing Chun under me. They're going to go to my teacher and do some training with him. But the bottom line is, what APlea is not my teachers, my Krav Maga teachers, it's not my Wing Chun teachers. I developed this with my brother, and really it's not even ours. It's basically for you. So if you're watching this, we want you to take ownership of it. We want you to rock the colors. We want you to be DOF, Defender of Freedom. Whether you're getting paid for it or not, okay? If somebody's robbing, give for example, I said Liam Neeson before, the Taken movies, right? His daughter gets captured, she goes on a vacation overseas, and she gets captured by kidnappers, and he has to go rescue her. He is a professional. He is an operator, as we call it in the industry. He basically does security, very high profile stuff. As he says of himself, I have a very special set of skills. When his daughter gets captured, there's nothing in the movie where he's like, well, how much am I going to get paid for this job? You know, I need to know what the benefit package is like, and I need to know what this and that. Here's my resume. It has nothing to do with business. It has to do with he's defending his family, okay? And if you're a citizen of America, you're part of the family of America, and I believe that never before in my lifetime has America been so under attack. So I believe that I'm calling all law enforcement, I'm calling all military, I'm calling all citizens to say, hey, let's get organized about how we're going to take care of our homes, okay? Back in the early revolutionary days and pre-revolutionary days, it was not uncommon for every household to have a rifle hung above their fireplace. Why? Because they were pro guns? No. There are two reasons why. When animals and danger, whether it would be people or animals or whatever it is, try to come to their home, they could protect it. And the second reason was it was part of survival. They needed to hunt to eat, okay? So not everyone needed to, you know, obviously, you know, you watch Little House on the Prairie, they had weapons too, okay? But it didn't mean that they were these vigilantes, you know. Nobody would accuse Charles Ingalls, the father on Little House on the Prairie, of being a gun nut. You know what I'm saying? It's just part of the way of life. And I spoke about this on another video. During the days of the Wild West, the towns were very short on law enforcement. That's where private law enforcement really originated from. The whole idea of being deputized, what does that mean? When a sheriff, who's just maybe a one person, would be a one job per town because, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of money. And that sheriff would say, I need a bigger group to help defend this town. He would deputize citizens. Okay, so anyways, to basically the long and short of it is that is what APlea is about. Okay, we're deputizing, we're saying, look, if you're an American, you're part of the resistance. Like the John Connor movie, The Terminator, he's out over the radio. He's like, if you're hearing this message, you are the resistance. That's what it is, okay? We're not organized. I'm not controlling anybody, you know. Even we've gotten away from, you know, monthly dues and all that stuff. Like basically, we got T-shirts. You want to buy them? You want to support us? Buy a T-shirt, buy a patch. All right. You want to support us? Support yourself by going to some training and getting some material. Okay. I just spent some time on the phone with the infidel John Mallow today, and he basically and I were talking about how the mistakes in the past that we've seen in the last 10 years in the martial arts, especially in the Krav Maga industry, of multi-day certifications, and then people got a piece of paper that they go running with to start programs, and they're really, you know, like John said, it's a copy of a copy of a copy. It's, you know what I mean? A photocopy. You know, some of you guys don't know what that means, but this is like, what do you mean a copy of a copy? What is a copy? But everything's digital. You send them a picture. But the idea is it gets fainter every time you copy a copy because you're not copying the original. All right. So anyways, the other argument though, which I like to argue, the other side of it is also that they'll leave it to professional side. Like, well, look at the reason I'm the Krav Maga teacher is I've been training for 10 years. I've been doing martial arts for 25 years. That's why I'm the master. The problem is, what if the master is not there when your home gets invaded? Why are we making all these trainings exclusive? Masters only, black belts only, you know, elite, elite, elite. I have several students that joined my school from other Krav Maga schools in different parts of the United States, and they'd be like, oh, we were only allowed to do hand-to-hand stuff except for in special seminars because all that other cool stuff that you teach as your normal curriculum was only for military and law enforcement. And my thought is, why? Why is that? It doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, I'm going to end with that. Again, my name's Mark. I'm here with APlea. APlea stands for American Private Law Enforcement Association. Stay tuned because I'm going to be coming out with more videos that are going to teach you how to do stuff. If you want to learn how to use this, you can bring me to your school and I can show you how to apply this, especially for your teachers, right? You know, how to get what we call off center line. Okay, center line is the guy's coming at you with a punch, right? He's coming straight down the center, all right? You know, bang, he's coming, you know, if you don't get out of the way, get off those train tracks, you hit, okay? So how do we do that? We turn our body. Okay, we move our body, we bring our hands up, we clear, all right? And then once we're off the line, we attack them, okay? So I defend my center line and attack my opponent's center line. So that's he takes, we used to have a saying, this way he takes all the power and I take none. Okay, so the idea is all these martial arts, and there's guys out there that have done other types of training too, firearms tactics. Why are you saving this material for a rainy day? You know, I have a fellow instructor of mine who wants to just save all his expertise for, you know, for the government to use. I mean, do we remember World War II? Do we want? Again, I'm not anti-government. I work for the government, but why are we being selective? Okay, let's train good people. There's lots of ways to do background checks. There's lots of ways to look into somebody's past and decide, is this person worth teaching or not? You know, check references. Okay, there's lots of ways to do this. Okay, I'm not saying train bad guys. I'm saying there's a whole lot more good guys. Train everybody who's a good guy that you can identify as a good guy. This way the whole community is safe. Okay, we shore up the holes in the wall. Okay, my name is Sifu Mark, and I will talk to you later.